let's talk about the funk. First of all, what do you do to get out of that? Or what do you do mentally to get past it? There's times when I'm out there and I'm like, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's back her in, you know. Cocktails are waiting, pal.
Yeah.
I know 2 people around this table participate in this activity when the funk gets really bad, real stinky. And one person does not. Probably because he doesn't know how. But do you game? You break out the phone, you get your Tetris on.
That's blasphemy. You need 100% of your senses.
Our senses are horrible.
They are,
So
especially if you're face down in a freaking Tetris game
Yeah,
on your smartphone.
unless you're going for a high score.
I'm just saying. We've all heard that saying that, 10% of the fishermen or guys that are out there hunting are killing 90% of the game. I think those 10% of guys are the guys that do find a way to get through the grind, the funk.
Yep, for sure.
Because I think a lot of people pack it up early. Walleyes are the early bloomer of the warm water species.
They are the
Get some.
they're the 13-year-old boy of.
Yeah. God, I hated that guy in the locker room. I freaking hated him.
The hairy one?
Yeah.
You could always just look across the barrel or look across your bowstring.
Yeah, I've hunted with some guys like that. They just wing it.
They'll, be red-faced and they'll shoot. And they'll turn around and be like, "Hey, that felt good. That felt really good." Okay, did it? Okay. I think you dropped one of your nuts on the floor there, pal. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. Welcome to another edition, another episode of The Crave with a K.
Welcome, y'all.
What is happening? I am joined, Jake Siegel here, superstar male pattern baldness, Jake Siegel, is also joined by some news that I just found out. Very excited. Actually, the inventor of the DeLorean
Drum roll. Yeah.
and the hoverboard, Nate Bailey.
Really?
Coming to market
Really?
Yeah.
Q1 2018.
Thanks, son.
Be on the lookout.
I thought that. Wow, good for you.
Now you're just working on getting up to 86 miles an hour.
88
Right.
miles.
So
88.
88. It is 88.
Yep.
No,
We're at
no.
86 right now. We got 2 more to go.
88
We're
miles
very
an
close.
hour.
Nice. So
Good for you.
time machine inventor and hoverboard aficionado, Nate Bailey.
It was either that or the hot tub.
That's right.
DeLorean's way cooler.
I agree.
Also joined around the table is champion, the 2017 shake weight singles competition winner, John Eastburn. How?
Glad to be here.
Eye of the
guys.
tiger.
Oh,
Glad
man.
to be here.
Rumor is you're looking to take that worldwide.
True.
Already
True.
3-time national champ.
Yeah. That is the case. It hasn't caught on in some of the other countries, but I'm determined.
You would
I am
think,
determined.
given some of the
The competition in the U.S. just is not there. I mean, you have your, and most of them are teenagers. Imagine that, which they just don't hold the candle to, a male of my size. So, yeah, we're
your
gonna.
experience.
It's going international.
Your experience behind the shake weight
Yeah,
is unsurpassed.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, the good thing about the shake weight competition is 80% of your points awarded by the judges is based on the amount of lather that you have worked up. So the sweatier, the better.
Oh, you don't want me joining then. You'll have some serious competition.
You couldn't join. They drug test. Oh, sorry.
now word
I'm
is
out.
word is you're doing the single hand. Next year,
Singles, yes.
Next year, now this has
Yes.
never been done before. You're looking at taking it to both hands.
Yes. It's all form. It's all form, guys.
Most of these competitions cannot be aired on most of the ESPN networks.
That's true.
Yeah.
Ocho?
The Ocho.
No.
No, but in all seriousness, very happy to be doing another episode of The Crave.
We're still here.
We're still here. Whether anybody's listening or not, I'm not sure. But
hello.
today we're going to talk about a few different things.
Cabin fever.
Fever.
Fever. Or fever.
Justin Fever.
Yeah.
Fever believers.
But we're going to talk about some of the things today that we love to do in the springtime so much. Walleye fishing. Now, we talked a little bit pre-show about the fact that I probably have the most experience behind a walleye rod. Does not mean I would probably still give John the advantage just because he seems to be able to pull a bass out of a bathtub.
Fish magnet.
Yeah. But we're going to talk about the walleye run, what type of tactics you can use, really why they do what they do and how, if you live, and I grew up in the Midwest, and how that walleye run can be over just like that, or it can last for a couple weeks. But it's an awesome time of year. I think no matter where you are in the springtime, there's always that fish or that's something that you key in on, and you're like, man, that's springtime. And for me, that's walleye fishing. I didn't do a lot of turkey hunting growing up because I was on the water all the time, in the springtime. As soon as the ice was off of the rivers, and we'd actually, there's cameras now that you can go to certain websites and look at underwater cameras in the rivers, and you can start checking out the fish that are moving upstream to spawn. So
like road condition cameras, but
it
for
is.
fishing conditions.
Yeah, it is.
That's awesome.
It is. So it's not the greatest. I mean, you're usually looking at some pretty dirty water, but you'll catch fish going by, and
sure,
it's pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
I've tried that. My employer has blocked any website that has a camera on it, unfortunately, due to past employees abusing the internet.
Well, yeah, the severity, I guess I should say the vulgarity of the websites you were trying to view may have been the issue. So,
yeah, you might be being singled out there.
My last IT hookup really screwed me over.
Well, we'll talk about some walleye fishing.
I know that guy.
We're also going to dive into a little bit of turkey hunting. We're going to talk about turkey language, clucks, purrs, cheeps.
Yep, Thunder Chicken 101.
Yeah. Coming through in it could be foreign language at this point for some people out there, me included. So we're going to dive into what all that stuff means, and hopefully help you out a little bit when you're out there, and you're not just blown on a reed or a box call for hours on end, not accomplishing anything. So I'll need help with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about that and a few other things. Also, actually, before we get into those things, we're going to talk about the funk. Get the funk out of my face. Whether you're hunting or fishing, what do you do when you don't see critters? You're not. I mean, you say probably 90% of the time when you're hunting or fishing, you're probably either not seeing something or not catching something.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do to either pass the time or change your luck?
I've never experienced that fishing, but
true.
Chasing.
So more like 95%.
Yeah. Chasing four-legged critters. That's the case.
Yeah.
By all means, it's a mental preparation. Sure. I think.
It is
big time.
You don't have to get ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking. I mean, you kind of. I think it's something that if you're an outdoorsman that was raised, from a young age, in that environment, you're kind of used to it and desensitized to it.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But yeah, there's different tips.
No,
and
you
tricks
make
that
you make a good point. If you're accustomed to a
your
certain
dad sucked at hunting, or your mentor, and never saw jack squat.
Yeah,
hey,
you got pretty good.
That's
at
a norm.
Filling in those blanks.
That's a norm.
Yeah.
So then you probably didn't even realize. I mean, that might have been. I think we're all pretty fortunate on that end. So at least have somebody in our life. But
yeah.
Now we'll talk about that. I mean, what do you do, and how do you get out of the funk? So, but before we get into any of that, I think you all know what time it is. It's Would You Rather time. There it is. So we've had a couple pretty good Would You Rathers. Today we're going to take it. We're going to we'll do some crossover into mainstream sports along with our hunting and fishing endeavors. So the Would You Rather, and we had fun with this one.
Mm-hmm.
This is,
Yeah.
I think this will make everybody think just a bit. So the Would You Rather is this, simply this. You are putting on a fishing and hunting academy, a 1 day, let's call it 1 to 2 day academy where you are the instructor and you have to teach people how to fish and bow hunt / rifle hunt, right? So this is something where you're going to show them how to shoot a gun. You're going to show them the basics of archery, the basics of casting and retrieving swim baits and jigs and countless other baits, right? So the Would You Rather is this. Given that you are teaching the academy, you have to do all of those things with your opposite hand. So if you're right-handed dominantly, you have to teach that academy with your left hand with no practice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or you have the option, if you don't want to do that, you have to, in front of a World Series Game 1, throw out the first pitch left-handed.
Or right-handed if you're a left.
Right, with your opposite hand.
Yep.
With
offhand.
no practice. Gentlemen, the floor. The floor.
And we're talking the folks that are showing up to your outdoor clinic. They're paying customers. They're paying you money to instruct them.
Yeah.
They've traveled for miles. to
You are a
see you.
world-renowned...
3 states away.
You
in
are a
some cases.
world-renowned outdoorsman.
Yeah.
Honed in all of the
Fieldcraft.
I'm just
abound.
thinking about everything at the outdoor clinic, like hanging in a tree stand and like say you're screwing in steps.
left-handed.
Oh.
You got left hand both sides of the tree. Or
And in
That would be rough.
no
teach
way,
them
yeah,
how
no
to cast
time.
a fly rod.
And in none of this can you say, hey, well, I lost a bet. I had to do this.
You're right.
I'm usually right-handed, but I'm doing no. You just have to go out there. You have to do your best, look like a fool, either throwing out the first pitch in front of a World Series audience, nationally televised game with your opposite hand, or do all of these things at the academy. So,
And promptly issue refunds to everyone.
so
there's so
what
many
is it?
questions. I wonder what's the size of the class though? What's the size of the? I mean, I'm sure. I mean,
They're recording this to
right.
create a web series that
Right.
yet more
Okay,
customers
so
can pay
it's a
for.
nationally accredited outdoor school.
Correct.
Yes.
It's you
The
got
outdoor
your,
channel
your
is there.
biggest
The outdoor channel's there also.
naturally because you're
Yes.
there. Okay.
Well, come on. What do we got? What do you, Nader?
I'm throwing out the first pitch.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about
Yeah.
it because it's
'Cause-
okay. Sorry. So go ahead. Go ahead.
In
Nate.
addition to
Go ahead.
having,
Oh man, just think of the memes and the.
oh yeah,
Oh my. Go ahead though.
but so the main point that makes me arrive to that decision is when you're talking shooting a bow, shooting a rifle. Not only are you incorporating offhand, but now you're, if you're right-handed, you're right eye dominant as well. So now you've got to use your off eye as well.
You could always just look across the barrel or look across your bowstring.
Yeah, I've hunted with some guys like that. They just wing it, aiming down the barrel and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
So, particularly for the archery and the range work, it's going to be a mess. So I definitely do the first pitch, but I do it in style. I'd roll out there. I'd kind of go up there, underhand it. I just roll it down there like
Oh,
like a
man.
bowling ball.
No,
Just
no.
completely
You have
nail
to
it
throw
in.
it overhand.
Yes.
You're gonna walk out there. You're gonna look like
there's
verbal Kent.
You
additional-
can't like throw it on the
additional
ground and
You're
just
gonna
tap
look,
it in
you're
with
gonna
your
look
foot.
like verbal Kent from.
I'm
Just
still-
tap it in.
I'm still throwing the baseball.
Okay,
Yep.
Really?
Johnny.
Because that 15 minutes of fame, somebody somewhere in short order is going to do something stupid to overshadow you, and YouTube is going to blow up all over again.
What was the guy from the Cubs in the stands that interfered with the ball?
I caught the ball.
Yeah.
Mm.
What was his name? I'm spacing it first.
Nobody's heard
No,
from
no,
him for a while.
No. Well, yeah. I mean that.
No, he's a
guy-
Cubbies fan.
Well, he was, yeah. He still is.
Yeah, wore glasses.
Yeah.
Glass man. I forget his name. Dumford?
Anyway, so your take, Johnny?
I'm way off.
Drawing a blank there.
Okay, so this industry, the outdoor industry, is so small. See, I'm thinking that I might be able to get away with it because my MO is I'm kind of a jokester, sarcastic. But if these are paying, gosh, they're paying to be
Yeah,
there.
they're paying you.
Yeah.
You.
I can't even sign my autographs right-handed.
No. That probably wouldn't turn out much different than your right hand.
I think I'm going with the pitch, man. While I would consider myself a mediocre 1A athlete, I'm not that ambidextrous. So I'm going to throw the pitch. I think I can throw a pitch. Then it's fast. It's over.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
One and done.
for the time being, you just throw the pitch, do the walk of shame. Miss the catcher by 4 feet.
I don't even think
do
you
the
get it
walk
there.
of
You
shame.
just bury it into
How
the
far
ground.
is that? What is that?
90 feet.
90 feet?
No, 60 feet. No, I think it is 90 feet.
Jeez, man.
As long as you do a backflip right after you throw,
Oh.
then you'll be forgiven.
I think I maybe try to
in
my wind up. I go on the pitch in my wind up. I go down with an Achilles, a bad Achilles pull.
Hip pull.
There's something severely wrong with my
think-
leg at that
I
point.
think my-
And at
like
least
deep-
make it look like.
I think my worst left-handed pitch is still better than some of the worst first pitches.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to
out
bring
there.
that up too. There's a lot
true.
of fodder out there for
Yeah.
poor first pitch attempts.
So between the three of you guys here, would you rather throw out a pitch left-handed or sing the national anthem? Because that is
Nate,
not a
You
short.
want to start with that one?
I'd still take the pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Ooh.
my pitch
I think I'm gonna,
for
I
singing
think I'm
Your
gonna do.
your other
is,
pitch.
it's all wrong.
I think I'm going to do anthem on that.
You're going anthem.
You are?
You have a good voice.
I think I
It
think I could
is
do the
sultry.
anthem better than the
It's
pitch.
It's comforting.
Well, and we can choose who we
There's
want.
been many
you know.
nights in a tent where it just put me to sleep.
Yes.
So you're gonna go anthem.
I'd go
You're
anthem.
going pitch.
Yep.
I'd go anthem. Yeah.
I think I'd probably go with the anthem.
Yeah.
I'd probably try the anthem. The key is not starting too low. Oh, so you go too low, you can't recover.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good.
The last one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds weird.
There's
'cause
way
if you
too
were to-
much range in
If you were to
that.
drop an octave at the end, it would.
Carl
sound-
Lewis. Have you guys ever heard Carl Lewis sing the national anthem?
I would do it like.
No.
There you go.
Say, can you see?
Like somebody's just
It needs
knife
some
edge
work, but
chopping
I
you
get
in
that.
the
Yeah.
Adam's apple.
The touch, the feel of cotton. I got it. Well, we've all established that we do not want to put ourselves out there as awkward outdoorsmen, right?
Right.
We'd rather look
Don't
like
be that guy.
don't be that guy.
Don't do it.
Oh man, gosh, it's like the guys that are overbowed at the bow range. Now,
Oh, yeah.
John, I know you and I and Nate, I'm sure you've as well, but we've experienced firsthand a lot of people that, we've come into contact given the industry that we've worked in and the privilege that we've had to be around a lot of people that have shot bows. A lot of the people we've run into have been businessmen. They've held
women.
and women, but let's pick up the guys. But the businessmen, we've run into, they come from a position of power. They're maybe CEOs or CFOs and of other companies, and they spend their day making big decisions and signing big checks,
Yes.
making a lot of money, being very important.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing will make them feel much smaller than giving them a 60 or even a 50-pound bow, putting them on the range, and watching them struggle to get it back. I mean, red-faced, usually derailed.
Yeah.
Or everyone's walked into the range and seen the arrows sticking into the ceiling
Yeah.
about 30 feet from the start line.
Yeah.
Or from the shooting line.
Yeah.
And everybody's wondering, how do they get up there?
Yeah, exactly. Or they've done everything they could to get past the peak of the draw, and they hit let off, and they just, they blow right through the draw stops because, so
Yeah.
how do we get there? But
I don't know.
yeah,
It's
embarrassing
it's
moments.
a valid point.
Yeah.
Or once they do get it back, they bring it to their face finally to try and find their anchor point, and they end up collapsing and
But
burying the
no,
cable
you know
rod
what they
into
do
their
though?
knuckles.
They'll
At that point, I ask him to leave.
no, these guys will shoot.
You may go.
No, that's where you go find a Allen wrench and you go crank the limbs
Just
down
kidding.
a little bit for
These guys will they'll shoot the bow.
because then you get to watch them do it again.
They'll go through all of this, right? They'll
Mm-hmm.
be red faced and they'll shoot. And I'll turn around and be like, "Hey, that felt good. That felt really good." Okay, did it? Okay. I think you dropped one of your nuts on the floor there, pal.
And you hit the target to the right of the one you're actually aiming at.
Oh, yeah, that's a smooth
So
bow.
smooth.
That's a smooth bow.
Yeah, that's nice.
Man, oh,
That's
man.
nice.
All right. So, without further ado, let's talk about the funk. Let's talk about what happens. Because this time of year, I mean, it's late winter, and we've forgotten all of the bad times. Not the bad times, but all of the slow times that we've experienced throughout the year. August, September, October, November, December, while we're hunting. We seem to kind of always just remember, oh man, I tell you what, those 5 minutes in the fall when everything was going crazy and the bucks were chasing. I mean, that's what we remember. We seem to forget, the days and hours and hours and hours we spend in the tree or in the boat or on the shore, and we're getting blanked. So what do you guys do? First of all, what do you do to get out of that? Or what do you do mentally to get past it?
Huge topic. We could spend multiple episodes on this.
Let's spend one for now.
But for now, let's just talk about the fishing funk.
Let's talk about fishing funk.
There's all the cliches out there about, hey, any day on the water is better than a day of work.
Yeah.
You guys heard those?
I could argue against
Just
it.
nice to be on the river.
Oh, man. I'll tell you what. I'd rather be here. Yeah.
Well, that is
Yeah.
grade A baloney. Because you only hear those when people aren't catching fish.
Yeah.
And
Or it's only an hour-long trip right afterward.
Yep.
It's
And,
not a full day.
And one of the things I've embarked on this year is I kind of devoted myself for my winter steelhead fishing anyway. Is just two-handed rod, spay fishing. And
This is where your shake weight.
repetition.
comes.
That's where it comes in.
Yeah,
for sure.
gotcha.
For sure, absolutely. Cool. And it's not the easiest way to catch a steelhead. And there's many days and hours spent when you are, it just ain't happening.
Would you equate steelhead fishing, and I know you haven't done much to any muskie fishing, but would you kind of put those two on the same parallel?
I guess, they say fish of 1,000 casts or a fish of 10,000 casts. I think, if you have a chance to fish every day, you're going to hit those days on the river or lake where, those that one day a week or that one day every 2 weeks, you're going to hit it. You're going to do well. Being a weekend warrior for the most part, you just don't have that luxury. So you kind of got to power through it. But the way you kind of counteract that, it's just a mental game. Yeah, it's tough because I'll be out there on the river and I'll be looking at these buckets and these pockets of water, and I'm like, man, if I just had a bobber and jig rod, I think I could pull a freaking fish out of there.
Yeah.
But just kind of commit to the two-handed game, and I think at the end of the day, it will make you a better fisherman just because it kind of gives you another arrow in the quiver. But it's tough, man. I mean, it's not. I mean,
I commend you because you, of all the people that I know, you have you are one of the people that have the most mental fortitude that I've seen, especially when it comes to fishing, but hunting as well. I mean, there's times when I'm out there and I'm like, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's back her in, cocktails are waiting, pal.
Yeah.
And thankfully, you stick it out because we'll catch fish, or you'll catch fish at least, and
Yeah.
we're on the board. But it's not easy. It's
No,
not
it's
easy.
not.
How many
I
people
wish
do
I
you-
had that mental fortitude when it came to my eating habits. But
Yeah, putting the fork down.
I'd be in
is-
so much better
is-
shape. But
Step away, man.
yeah, I know. I have a problem. I thought, actually, when I first walked in here, I thought this was that intervention. But
We're all friends here.
yeah, we are.
But so what keeps you go? I don't know. What keeps you going? What keeps you out
I don't.
there?
I just
When
I'm
your
bi-
waders are
I'm-
full and your feet are cold.
Yeah, I'm bit. I'm bit by the bug of fishing in general, but especially when steelhead, summer and winter. But I think you just gotta. I think you gotta put. It's all perspective, right? Like I feel confident that had I picked up another rod and tried another tactic, I could have been successful. But I'm just challenging myself. Really, is what it boils down to. And I think that's a lot. That's pretty much the same with bow hunting too, as well. But,
Well, I feel like fishing's a little bit easier to deal with the funk than hunting, because at least with fishing, you got a whole tackle box
Sure.
full of lures, different colors, different flavors, whatever. You can busy yourself quite a lot just by I'm gonna cut and I'm gonna retie. I'm gonna put a different lure on,
Yeah.
try a different color. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna drop the big motor. Fire up the boat and go in another place. You can keep yourself busy.
Right.
On a fishing trip more so than when you're particularly in the backcountry or whatever. And
Yeah.
But so for me, I don't really have to think about it when I'm on the water. I've had a lot of goose egg days and never even thought about it. It's just you just keep plugging along, trying different lures, different spots, different techniques, and if it works, it works. If not, then you're always doing something different. But in the woods, I mean, it's a lot tougher because for one, it's a lot more physical exertion, so you're dealing with a lot more fatigue. Then you're just whooped because you've been walking all day long and you're tired of walking. You don't want to walk anymore. So then that mental aspect kicks in a lot stronger. And for me, I just do right, left. I just keep walking.
Yeah.
And it's just like I build a cadence as I'm going. And to some degree, that distracts you a little bit from your surroundings because you're so mentally focused on keeping your feet moving.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's a detriment, but at least that keeps me motivated to just keep plodding along and trying the next drainage or the next ridge and seeing what's out there.
we've all heard that saying that 10% of the fishermen or guys that are out there hunting are killing 90% of the game. Excuse me. I think those 10% of guys are the guys that do find a way to get through the grind, the funk.
Yep, for sure.
Because I think a lot of people pack it up early, and you can't.
A lot of it's just being out there.
Yeah,
Staying
reality
out
is you
there.
can't catch fish if you're not on the river, or harvest an animal if you're not in the woods.
Sure.
Would you guys say that bow hunting, well, I should say tree stand hunting, doesn't be bow hunting, but tree stand hunting is the hardest to get past? The hours of
I would say that, yes, for sure.
emptiness?
Because typically you're not that far from your rig. You know that within an hour or so you can be back in the living room snacking or doing whatever. For me, the pull in the tree stand to just bag it, call it a day, is a lot stronger than if you're in the backcountry. Because you're already out there, you got nowhere else to be. So I find it a lot easier to keep my head in the game when you're packed in several miles in somewhere.
Yeah, I agree completely. I had not done a whole lot of, as far as hunting is concerned, I had not done a whole lot of spot and stalk until I moved out here. Now, we did do some trips to Colorado when I was younger, 16, 17, 18. And, thankfully, we were very blessed and we'd done very well and we'd seen a lot of elk. So, I mean, it was it put a very skewed version of spot and stalk out there. But no, I completely agree. When you're out and you're invested, and it's a lot like when you're fishing, you can move. I think when you can move, when you're sedentary and you're in a situation where in your tree stand you can't move or you shouldn't move, that's tough. That's really tough. I do get that. Fishing for me is a little bit tougher. I don't know. I just and it could just maybe it's the elements and the cold and the wet sometimes that gets to me a little bit. But I think the more seasoned you are, and just I think that makes you a better fisherman. To try different things, because it's proven with Johnny here. I mean, you put the right thing in front of him, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
So
you just got to find the right presentation.
I think one of the biggest examples of mental breakdowns has been, as from a hunting standpoint, is when I moved out here and I hunted Roosevelt elk. And my only experience with elk hunting up to that point had been the Colorado thing. And, there had been, I mean, you saw it in 09 when we were there. It was, it's silly sometimes how many elk you run into. And in some of these western states, you get that. So I moved to Oregon back in 05 and didn't really know anybody, and kind of did some solo hunts myself for the first couple years. And, we're located on the west coast, the west side of the state, and it's all Roosevelt elk. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't really know the terrain, didn't do my homework. Just went out and hunted elk like I did in Colorado, which was, go stand, you go 100 yards and stand on a break and bugle, and you should have 4 or 5 bulls answer you. And then you go kill one. And that's the end of your story. You pick which one you want to shoot. Man, I was so mentally I was tore down, man. I was broke down. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't seeing elk. Didn't hear any elk. That's for damn sure. And it was tough. It was really tough. I didn't know what was going on. Shortly after that, I met John and his brother, and you guys kind of took me under your wing as far as hunting coastal elk, and showed me that, hey, you're dealing with a different critter.
Still sucks.
Does still suck. We've since vacated that, and we don't even hunt there anymore. But I mean, you guys showed me how to do it. You showed me, showed me how that that animal acts a little bit different than a Rocky Mountain elk, and even just how you get around the terrain. I mean, you grew up out here.
Yeah.
And you knew all the old logging roads, all the old cat roads that you couldn't really see, that, you bust through this patch of ferns, and all of a sudden, you had just walking.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Just walking out here, getting A to B, it is not easy.
Yeah.
So
it's thick.
You do that for a few hours and you don't see anything, and you're sweaty, and it's cold, and it's raining too, and pretty sure cougar's tracking you. I mean, I got beat up bad, really, really bad.
Yeah, I mean, there were days there where you go without hearing or seeing an elk. But I mean, it's actually more of a hearing game out there out here anyway, in the brush, because I mean, you'll hear them long before you actually put eyes on them. And I think that's what's so frustrating is growing up in it is you can be 10 yards from the animal. You see the tips of their horns and you can see their hooves, but there's too many salmon berries to get an arrow in through there. And I think that at the end of the day probably gives you some more fortitude, to get out of that funk. Because the reality is, I mean, nothing against Rocky Mountain elk or the eastern part of the state. Is just because of the terrain you're in. I mean, those opportunities are going to come more often. It's tougher to get it done on those brush bulls for sure.
But that's when you dig in and it's pretty cool, given all the different outlets that we have to, whether it's iFish or you name it, as far as the amount of forums that are out there. I mean, if you want to get good at something, there's somebody out there that's willing to teach you, and there's somebody willing to show you how to do things, or at least give you their experiences and what works and what's not. And I think if you want to learn how to do it, find somebody that's good at it, and ask them, hey, you don't have to take me to your spot, but can you give me a pointer? can you help me out with something? And you know, people are. That's a great thing about hunting and fishing. Most people are more than willing to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a rude awakening. You know, Nate, you moved here from, you know, granted you were a little bit younger, but you experienced whitetail hunting, and you know, some people in the West will call them the rats of the mountains. You know, they're just they're plentiful.
Yeah,
you know, in
you're
the
at least seeing
Midwest.
does just about every sit.
Not seeing a deer is rare.
Yep.
On an outing. Maybe not seeing a trophy buck every time, but seeing a deer is rare. So
Not seeing a deer, right?
blacktail hunting was another thing that kind of gave me
The gray ghost.
kind of gave me the slip for a while. You know, I was again, I'm hunting areas I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know how to hunt them, and
Yeah, you rebounded though.
I did,
Good.
quickly.
You rebounded though.
but it was tough. You know,
Getting
you
it done
just,
nowadays.
yeah. But again, a lot of it is just asking questions and
trespassing.
trespassing. Heavy bait, all year round. Yeah, for sure. The nice thing
That's
is
not a blacktail. That's a mule deer. No, it's 100% blacktail.
those animal preserves. They just, you know, they're plentiful. In
Yeah,
there.
nobody hunts them. It's
Nobody
weird.
hunts them, which I don't understand. I don't understand. The deer are so tame.
There's some dudes that like drop alfalfa every morning. It's
Yeah.
like you just wait for the tractor to leave, and it's great.
So the funk had got me thinking about one other thing. I know two people around this table participate in this activity when the funk gets really bad, real stinky, and one person does not, probably because he doesn't know how. But do you game in a stand, on the boat, in the woods? Do you break out the phone? Do you get your Tetris on?
That's blasphemy.
Do you get your Angry Birds on and kill 20 minutes?
In the tree stand? Yes, I do.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known that before.
Yeah.
I
Nate, I'm
started
pretty
this.
sure I walked you to a stand one time, and you had a War and Peace book. You had War and Peace in your backpack. I'm like, dude, what's in your backpack? You pull out like a 1,500-page hardback.
Keeps you in shape when you're carrying around 12 pounds of books in your backpack.
I'm like, man.
I didn't realize they had a choose your own adventure 50 Shades of Grey. But evidently Nate found it.
It's in Braille, too. You get real close to the action that way.
Oh,
He's
gosh,
very
that
excited.
is disgusting.
So, Nate, you do.
I do.
You'll break
Yeah.
out Angry Birds or...
No, I have an archery game on my
Do you?
phone.
Nah.
Yeah.
So it's like... So
Yeah.
you're like, I'm virtually still in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm still...
That's what I tell myself anyway.
And I just smoked that 12 point. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
John?
I cannot do it.
Oh,
I'm
you're
so
such a curmudgeon.
opposed. I'm so opposed to technology in the tree stand or in the field.
Or anywhere else.
I'm not putting you guys in this boat by any means, but
You can put me in the boat.
I've heard of people like literally listening to tunes in the tree stand
Well, that's a whole nother situation.
to
that's
pass the
just-
time.
That's just annoying.
Or
I've listened to books on tape in the stand.
but
One earbud in.
I can tell you, it's hurting your odds. Absolutely. I don't know. It takes me when I'm hunting.
You're
It kind of
so amped up. Right now.
I am right now. I'm passionate about this. Yeah, no books, no board games in the tree stand.
You barely answer your phone when you're at work.
Man, I no technology
Right.
in the stand.
Oh, why?
Just when I'm in there, I want to be like completely ingrained in what's happening around me.
Yeah.
And it sucks for like the first hour, but before you know it, you're like you hear stuff that you don't normally pick up on, whether it's a drop hitting like the cap of this mushroom or a chipmunk or just a bird, you know. I know. You guys are sleeping now, but I'm telling you, your senses will get heightened, and it's you know, you kind of get caught up in it. And personally, I think it makes you a better, you know, outdoorsman. But because sometimes you just barely hear that leaf or stick pop, and you make that call, or you grab your bow and you're able to get that opportunity. Gosh, I'm just so opposed to it. And people ask me, dude, how do you freaking spend 10, 12 hours in a stand and don't do anything? The day goes by faster than you think it does.
Yeah.
It does. But that's just my.
I just
2
get
cents.
super antsy if
It
I don't occupy myself with something, and then when I do hear that weird noise, I'm like, "What's that?" Then I catch myself, like, I sit up all of a sudden and I'm like immediately looking around the tree, and that's not the reaction you want to have.
That quickly too, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it
pretty
kind of like it takes you back. Okay, so like we're
I'm a pretty.
we
I
are the
struggle in
apex
tree
predator,
stands.
We are apex predators.
and you need 100% of your senses.
Our senses are horrible.
They are,
So
especially if you're face down in a freaking Tetris game
Yeah,
on your smartphone.
unless you're going for a high score.
I'm just saying. And it kind of like, I don't know, our ancestors, it just, for me, it kind of takes me back to that simpler time. And you guys know me, I'm so anti-technology.
Yeah, we're aware.
Yeah, I mean,
We're aware.
it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. But anyhow, I'm going to get off my soapbox.
I understand your perspective.
No, I agree that any distraction in the woods, whether it's a text message you're answering or playing a game or whatever, checking the weather on your phone.
Yeah.
I mean, I
read
like
a book. It doesn't.
sitting in a blind with my wife, who is very accomplished outdoors woman.
Yes, she is.
And she's on her phone. And gosh, even that
Bugs you,
bugs me.
doesn't
I'm like, man, there's freaking technology in my radius. I mean, it's just I don't know.
Well, listen, I'd say you're in the minority
Probably.
of people
Probably.
at this point that
Certainly in our age
Yeah.
bracket.
Yeah.
you bet,
Yeah.
bet. But no, it's quick story. The blacktail I shot this year,
Yeah.
late season,
Which
the bigger one,
one?
the bigger the one,
Okay.
the last one.
Okay. Now,
I-
now you can kill 2 bucks a
right.
year in Oregon if you
Right.
draw the correct tags.
Right.
Just for
Yeah, you had a general season
our
tag
listeners
and-
out there, listener out there.
This was the
and a controlled hunt, a limited entry controlled hunt.
I, like all of the Crave members, are very legal and abide by all rules and regulations.
Absolutely.
He's telling the truth.
Yeah, no, it was all legit. Everything was
Yeah.
good.
No sarcasm.
Was
at
on
all.
my own property here and hadn't, was first year on the property. And anyway, had a tree stand set up, and I had rut was kicking in. Had some does milling around the camera for a few days. Had some small bucks show up. Had a nice buck, very nice buck, show up. 2-3 days in a row. Got a chance to get out and sat up there one morning. He was showing up about 8 o'clock, just like I like him to show up, But anyway, I was there. But the thing is,
had
I
time
was
to eat breakfast before you.
well,
went
that's
in?
the thing. Okay, so I'm up there. I hate getting into a stand too late. I would rather get in there an hour early, like an hour before dark or before light. Anyway, I was there plenty early, and time was rolling on. I had a doe in kind of milling around the stand, and had seen a few deer, but nothing to write home about. Well, coincidentally, I was riding home. I sent a text to my wife because I wasn't too far from the house, and I said, hey, I'm going to sit till 9, and I'll come in and have breakfast with you and the kids. She's like, cool, sounds good. Well, it's about 1:45, and I'm getting a little antsy, and I break out my phone, and I'm going to play a game.
How could you?
I did.
I
Well,
don't even know you anymore.
I know,
Steve.
right?
Jeez.
I know.
Which game was
The
it?
problem is I've been in a tree
friend.
stand. I've been in a tree stand since I've been probably 8 years old, 7 years old. Well, that's my dad. I remember being in a tree stand crying because I got scared and I was lonely. And I was probably 4 or 5.
We have video of that too.
Yeah,
I've heard. We
sobbing,
found some.
just sobbing. But so I think part of it is I think I get a little bit brash. I get a little bit boastful in a tree stand, thinking I got this covered. I got this figured out. Well, I didn't. That buck showed up I looked up from my phone, and I had my head buried in there for probably 5 or 6 minutes. And I looked up, and this buck was standing 40 yards in front of me.
Yeah.
Never see. I mean,
How did you feel when you saw that bug?
Embarrassed.
When your
I felt
stuffed in your technology.
I felt embarrassed. I didn't feel good.
Yeah.
But I did. Man, I smoked that thing. I mean,
You did.
on the phone. No.
Oh.
So I was good about that. I passed the level. But I looked up. I saw the deer. I'm like, I'm sitting down. My bow's hanging up. I'm like, shit. I'm in a bad spot. No
Yeah.
wind. I mean, this buck is. I'm, 15 feet off the ground. I'm not that high. This buck's gonna. If I do anything, my only saving grace is that there's a doe in the vicinity, and it is November. So he comes in and he gets. I mean, he's 15 yards from me, and I can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck. I'm like, I cannot do anything. Luckily, he turns and he starts walking up towards the doe, and I saved my game and I put it in my pocket.
Oh my God!
Gotta save the game.
Save your game.
No, I didn't. It does
Oh my
It does it automatically.
It's auto-saving.
It's auto save.
Ah.
So I get up. I make one swift move. I'm like, okay, here, I'm gonna have to do this all in one movement. So
Could you?
I get up. For those of you who are watching, I get up. Okay. Grab my bow. This buck catches me out of his periph.
Yeah.
Right. He spots me. He turns around. He's looking. I don't have my release on. I'm.
You don't have your release
No,
on
my
your
release is
hand?
on. My release is on my hand.
Oh, okay. All right.
My release is on my hand, but it's
you were
not
playing
on the loop.
vids.
Not on the D loop, yeah.
So
String loop.
anyway, he moves off. Long story short, I was fortunate enough. I shot the buck, but it was not with. It should have been a lot easier than it was. That buck moved off. Luckily, the doe kind of moved off behind me, and he came back in, and he gave me a shot. But I mean, it
could have very easily gone south.
I would have seen that buck 100 yards out from where I was sitting. I mean, he came in straight ahead of me. It's not like he came from behind me quietly.
Yeah.
I would have had time to get up, grab my bow. So in that instance, yeah, I'll be thinking about that next fall. Not sure it'll change anything after 5 hours in a stand, but no, it's. I think a lot of people do it, and it's convenience. It's just like being on your phone in the car. There's no reason to be, but yet we all do it.
It should be illegal.
It is in most states. So, you mean to be on your
the
phone
woods
in the
too.
stand?
Actually, I mean, if you guys want to keep using your smartphones in the tree stand, that's cool with me. More deer for the Neanderthals like myself.
Yeah. Well, I do look forward to your haphazard selfies, of the deer when you shoot them. So
Yeah.
there's a downside.
We will. That's a case.
Yeah. So, it's tough. I mean, it does break the time up, but it's definitely it takes you out of the game. It does. So, my wife coincidentally shot that buck right there, and she was nose deep in a book. So.
Yeah, paperback's not any better than a cell phone game.
No.
All right. We'll cover that buck on another episode.
Yeah.
I'm still super happy for her.
Yeah. Aren't we all? But so let's switch gears a little bit. We talked about hunting kind of a little bit there and what to do when you don't see anything, but spring fishing. We're doing a steelhead trip shortly, but on the other end of the country, guys are getting geared up for walleye fishing.
What is this? This walleye? Is that how you pronounce it?
It's walleye vision.
Yep.
Walleye. Okay.
Wallies?
Wallies, Walters.
Big eyes? Do they call them big eyes back there?
Not generally, but you should feel free to use that term if you're ever
I'd
back
probably stick. I mean, I'd get called out.
there. Hey, you guys got the big eyes back
Big
here?
eyes. Big guys. All right, you're right.
But that's gonna start up pretty quick here. The quote unquote walleye run. Like I said, in the springtime I didn't spend a whole lot of time turkey hunting, mainly because it coincided with I just where we grew up. Again, it was fortunate to be able to fish a lot of different fisheries for walleyes. I grew up in central Wisconsin, so a lot of the rivers held a good a good population of fish, especially in the spring, obviously when they were going to spawn. So,
Yep.
man, we spent the better part of a month and a half fishing, and it's like anything else. You had good days and bad, but there was always that kind of that golden 2 to 3, 4 day period where, man, it was hot. It was on. It was really good, and it's a.
So is it like 10 fish day or on a walleye or
depending on where
when it's
you're
hot?
at. Well, okay, so like what you can keep or what you can.
Well, just landing.
I would say
hooking.
on a good day, you can catch upwards of 20 fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's guys that are listening that have caught more. And but I'd say on average on a really really good day, I mean, and you're fishing all day, 20 fish is
And these are on
upwards.
These are on rivers that flow into lakes.
Yeah.
And they're going up kind of like a salmon or steelhead. They're going up.
So they're migrating from the still water in the lakes into
where
into
it's
the
where it's an
inlets.
option. Correct. Yeah. So a lot of the there's some big water systems, and again, I'm just going with what I know in the state of Wisconsin, but there's some big waters in the central part of the state that a lot of different water flows into. So a lot of those fish will travel, and even the Bay of Green Bay, which is connected to the Great Lakes. Those fish.
Go Packers!
Go Packers! Absolutely. Big shout out.
Gosh,
I love Brett Favre.
Packers.
But those fish will run too, and they are a walleye. I think a lot like, and John, you'll have to help me out with this too. But like other fish, they do have a homing mechanism.
Oh, they go back to their kind
They
of
will
home
go
waters?
back to
Really?
their same spot. Yeah, there's been, and
That's
I did some
interesting.
research, and I'm going off of some of the things that I've read.
Yeah.
But these fish will cross, barriers to get back to, and it gets stronger as they get older. So these fish, males take about 3 to 4 years to come sexually mature. Females about a year later. So there's always going to
sounds
be.
about right.
Doesn't it? Yeah, we're always early.
Walleyes are the early bloomer of the warm water species.
They are the.
Get some.
They're the 13-year-old boy of.
Yeah. God, I hated that guy in the locker room. I freaking hated him.
The hairy one?
Yeah. It's like, dude, what are you? You're a freaking man. You're an 8th grader, like full beard, and you're like WT.
I feel so ashamed.
I'm all pudgy and pasty and flabby.
I mean, do you have your driver's license?
We were looking at some pictures
Totally
of
not fair.
John in the 8th grade earlier today, as a matter of fact.
It looked like you could have passed for 8th grade. You were
Anyhow.
25, but
Anyhow,
Baby face.
walleye are early bloomers.
yes, they are.
Never
The male. So there's always going to be more males in the
Sorry.
system than females. So
like a junior high dance.
much like a junior high dance, they're very active.
And,
Dude, go ask
and they're on opposite sides of the
Oh,
river.
she's such a bitch. Oh, she's just eating over there. God, look at her.
Jeez, what a sow. Yeah. Sorry.
Not called hens or bucks, though.
But they're sows, right?
Females, males.
Female? Sow?
I'm not sure if there's a
I don't know.
classification term for
Okay.
males and females, but we've just called them females and males.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
but no, they will return to their same spawning grounds every year, and so fish that don't leave the main water, an inland, they'll, if they don't have a way out, they're generally searching for gravel, and they'll move up into shallows. So usually later in the year, summertime, you'll find those fish in deeper water. But going back to kind of what we had mentioned about their names, or walleyes, it's interesting. I'm not sure why they are the way they are with the purulescent lens, but extremely good hunters at night and in low light conditions. So they do most of their hunting.
Like the junior high boy.
Much from the
Can
closet.
we turn down that disco ball?
Way too much acne for this.
Right.
But no, so it's so much fun. I mean, they're an aggressive fish. They're as far as eating fish, that's one of the things I've struggled with moving out here. I'm not a big salmon and steelhead trout fan. I
Yeah.
mean, like I like salmon, I do, but as far as trout is concerned, I'm not a big fan, and that could just be what I grew up on. I grew up on whitefish, walleye.
Well, it doesn't get any better than walleyes.
Yeah, northern
For
perch,
freshwater, in my
it's
opinion.
tough to beat. So,
They
Never
taste way
had
better
one.
than turkeys too. So that's
You've
another.
never had a walleye?
I've never had one.
Are you serious?
That's gonna change this year.
You've had yellow
Absolutely.
perch though, right?
Yes.
Pretty similar.
Just out here, these yellow perch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if these perch out here, as far as strains,
Yeah,
Dinky.
and it takes a lot of
a lot of these
a
fillets.
lot of perch to make a meal.
That's
Yeah.
true.
But no, I've never had a walleye. But once again, for our listeners and fans determined to change that this year.
Yes, a man of your ilk should
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
have eaten walleye. But,
Yeah, I really should have.
but it's so that run is usually about April.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I was going to ask. So you're targeting like gravel shoals in the river during the run, or is it? What kind of structure are you looking for?
Yeah, in the river, it kind of depends
matter.
on the type of river you're on. They're also they'll also spawn on up in the grassy area if that gravel isn't available.
Mm-hmm.
So their spawn is got a texture to it that it sticks to most everything. So wherever they drop their eggs, I mean, preferably, they're a female will drop. I think I read 500,000 eggs. So, how
Dang.
many of those make it to adulthood? I'm not sure, but it's probably still pretty low.
10.
And
Yeah.
what's the what quantity would a male drop in milliliters?
In milliliters. I'd say like a Ziploc bag worth.
Once again, junior high. Oh, jeez.
Well, that'd be multiple times a day. Then.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
But no, they'll
that's
start
cool.
working up. They'll start working to migrating to their spawning grounds late winter, early spring. So, when you start seeing some of these pictures and posts of really big females, they're catching all those fish on the way up. As they move into their spawning grounds, those fish are full of spawn. When you see the 10, 12, 14-pound fish, which are fairly rare.
Yeah.
Those are big females. Big females are really pre-spawn, very hard to catch. And I'm sure there's, again, plenty of listeners out there that have caught a good amount of those. But from my experience, they're just not in that mentality to eat at that point. They have a mission. They're going to spawn. And once they drop their eggs and they're looking for I read that there's actually kind of two with the expansion of walleyes throughout the country. There's kind of a northern strain and then a southern strain. And the northern strain that you're looking at temperatures between like 40, I think about 46 and 48 degrees. And those southern fish will actually spawn in a little bit higher temperature, 48 to 50. So anyway, most of those spawning females were looking for 44 to 50 degree water before they'll spawn.
Pretty wide range for
Pretty cold compared to a bass.
that too.
When you
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like for us here in Oregon, it's like 58 to 60. It's pretty
60.
pretty
they're hit-
short.
60 they're hitting the
window, too.
bed. 65 they're dropping.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Huh.
a lot of time, I mean, the water just doesn't get that warm.
Right.
In the Midwest, East Coast, it's just you're
Certainly
dealing
not
with-
in April. Yeah.
No, definitely not. So they're just engineered to spawn about 48 to 50 degrees. And now once those, and a lot of it has to do with, and again, you talk about those golden 4 or 5 days. It's not so much water level, but water temperature. Females will find their way, even on low water situations, they'll find their way to their spawning grounds. Especially an older female, she'll get there. She just will.
She's been there before.
She's been there.
She knows
She knows what she's looking for.
She's the MILF of the walleye industry.
Get her. Now that being said, man, there's so many things. It's a lot like It's a lot like the lunar phase of
Yeah.
whitetail hunting. You
Yeah.
know, like, hey, the moon phase has a lot to do with the rut, you know, with
Right.
whitetails or elk.
Mhm.
You know, growing up, we had every excuse under the book, under the sun, as far as why we weren't catching fish. You know, well, you know, water temp's not right. Water temp, or it just water level dropped too quick. You know, it's Wednesday, so no fish bite on Wednesday. But you know, it's just.
Yeah.
But you know, primarily what you're going to catch are, and what you really want to catch are, and when my dad listens to this episode, he'll probably smirk a little bit because as I grew up, you know, I started to get a little bit more involved with conservation and fish population and that sort of thing. And, you know, we grew up, man, and it's, hey, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but we would, if you caught a walleye, man, it's going in the box. If it was legal, it was in the slot, you know, and which on the river, it doesn't matter.
Talk about the slot real quick.
Well, man, that's a big topic and a pretty hot one. I'm sure, again, my dad would probably have no shortage of comments on, but on a lot of the lakes in the Midwest, there's a slot limit, and it varies by lake. It's not even by state; it's by lake.
Mhm.
The place that we have a cottage on that we grew up fishing on, right now, I think you can keep. And please don't quote me on this because I'm not sure, but I believe it's 1 over 15, 1 under 15, and that's it.
So that's not really
Just 2 fish.
2 fish a day.
day.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, knowing the size of your dad, that's not going to suffice.
That is not.
especially under 15 inches.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, wow. Good thing he doesn't depend on walleye to survive.
Now he's probably fishing crappie.
Yeah.
Crappy.
Well, in some states like Minnesota, when I fished there last year, it was an inch range. So I think the range was 14 inches to 18 inches.
Yeah.
And if it was below that or above that, they had to go back.
Right, right.
And then you hear about guys, you know, they're 18 and a quarter and they get the scissors out or
Yeah.
try and clip fins and
Yeah.
you know try and play all those games, but
Yeah.
which none of us condone, obviously.
No, it's just
But,
not worth it. It's not worth
Yeah,
it.
but sometimes that's slot limits. In Oregon's had a similar thing with sturgeon in years past in the Columbia system. But I wanted to kind of expound on
Yeah.
the slot because some listeners may not quite understand what
Yeah.
that is. Typically, you know, most states would be like your limit is X number of fish, and they all have to be over a certain inch lengthwise. And
That's
there's
kind of
no
what makes
additional
the,
stipulation beyond that.
That's what makes the river run pretty awesome because generally rivers have different rules and regulations. Like I know that it was 5 fish, it was 5 walleyes, and granted that water ran into, you know, lakes that had slots. But if you're on the river, you know, it was a 5 fish limit, 5 fish per day. So
Definitely an
and-
advantage there then.
yeah, absolutely. And the way you fished it too was a little bit different. You know, I mean, as lethargic and tough to catch those big females as they were, once they spawned out, you know, and they headed back downriver, things completely change. You know, they get really aggressive and you know, they're hungry, and you know, you can catch those big females. Granted, they're maybe not 12 pounds anymore, but they're 10, you know, or 9. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Crankbaits, vertical jigs, and you're kind of combat fishing a little bit depending on where you're at, but usually there's enough
As far as
fish to go around.
competing with other boats.
Yeah. I mean, the
Okay.
river systems can get kind of choked up with boats, so you know, you can always, the further upstream you go, you know, and the smaller the river gets. Usually the higher the water, I mean, that was always the theory that the higher the water, that the fish would go up further. You know, they would travel up further to spawn, which the more I read, I don't think that's the case. I think that if a certain female would go to a certain spot, she'd get there no matter how low or high. As long as she could get there, she would go.
Sure.
So, but it's a trip. I miss it. I miss it every year, man. It's a lot of fun. And like Nate said, it's a great tasting fish. It's so good to eat.
Yeah.
But something we need to try.
Especially shore lunch within
Yeah.
hours or minutes from bringing them out of the water.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't get much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many fish fries that my dad has worked up in the garage, in the deep fryer.
Sure.
Man, oh man.
Yeah.
that's
Little
good.
panko breading.
He never eats when
in
he
oil.
comes in because he has eaten the whole time.
Right, he's out there picking through
Sampling.
it.
Sampling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
Something we discovered quite a few years back, but was the cheek meat
Mm-hmm.
of walleyes. Man,
Yeah.
it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Hmm.
Yep. Pop that out of there. And
That's got to be a pretty good sized fish to get the cheek meat out, though.
yeah. Yeah. Nothing goes to waste meat. Nothing at all. So yeah, he would sample the fish in abundance before it ever got back to the house. He never eat anything when he came in. He'd be like, "Well, I ate out the garage." So yeah, there was one place we went to. It was a bar, but the River Rail, and they served walleye and cod, but man, they made homemade bread, and gosh, you go in there and didn't matter what you ordered, you always got this huge loaf of homemade bread with this, slab of butter on it, and you filled up on that before you ever got to the main meal. But
Butter makes everything better.
yeah, supper clubs, something we don't have out here in the Great Northwest.
Is that like an IHOP?
No, supper clubs are independently owned. But the reason why they're called supper clubs is that, first of all, the division of the word dinner and supper somewhere happened. It's kind of like 4x4 versus 8-pointer. I think wherever you say 8-pointer and not 4x4, you say supper,
Not dinner.
and not dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
get that.
Write that down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Words of wisdom.
Yeah.
So how do you get in the club? Is there like a
All you need to be is 18, really.
okay. So anybody
any
can get
adult.
in.
No,
supper
man.
club.
It was so supper clubs are usually independently owned, usually in a fairly rural part of town. Usually it sits on a county road.
Is
could
it
be
a double wide trailer?
It could be. I guarantee
Yeah?
you there's supper clubs that are probably manufactured homes out there. Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, they do have a kind of a house feel, kind of like you're going to your grandma's or your aunt's house.
Mm-hmm.
But open for supper. You walk in and it's man, it's almost like a step back in time, because people that own the supper club, they generally, it's decorated with things that they like, usually Green Bay Packer fans.
Naturally.
Yeah, but very dated stuff. There's a bar area, and then there's a dining area, always separate. But you go in. It's a place you stayed. Nowadays, it seems like, okay, we go out, like if we're going to take our wife out, or we go out as a group. It's like, okay, we're going to go maybe here for drinks, and then we're going to go here for dinner, and then maybe we'll go somewhere afterwards for a nightcap, right, or something. Supper club, you did it all there. You go in, you're with friends, you go into the bar area. You always saw people you knew, because it's Fred from up the road, and
Sure.
he's got a farm, and you got a farm, and Joe works down at the mill, and that's where you went on Saturday night. A kind of a cross between like a bowling alley and
I like that.
yeah, and
Minus
like a nightclub.
So there's dancing at these supper clubs.
Only if it got real late. But you go in, you have some pre-dinner drinks. Usually you get a number, right? They'll bring you a number. They're going to say, okay, you're table 46. You don't pick your number. They'll tell you where you're going to sit.
Mm-hmm.
Usually your waiter and waitresses are nice, but they're not that nice.
Yeah.
You're like, here's where you're going to sit, okay? You can have an
Rough
old-fashioned.
around the edges.
Well, and old-fashions were and are a staple. The drink is
The cocktail, old fashioned.
Yeah. So brandy, I guess, was it kind of the old fashioned kind of came about in the Prohibition era, where liquors were hard to come by, and a lot of them weren't that good.
Mm-hmm.
So people started to add sugars and bitters to their drinks. And, between that and the sodas, they came up with this drink called an old fashioned. And they've gotten much better, but that's, brandy has been a staple in that drink. And I say that because a lot of these places offer fish fries. And, I moved out here, not really a thing, but it seemed like every supper club, every bar offered a fish fry, and they usually offered a locally caught walleye from the area. But yeah, I mean, it was cool. I miss it. It's someplace, it's that you went and you knew everybody. Usually you went and you had your dinner. I always laugh because there's always a salad bar. There was always, you go sit down and like, well, we should probably go hit the salad bar. And it was usually, you got your iceberg lettuce, your bacon bits, your hard-boiled eggs, tomatoes, cheese, and ranch.
You can't not have cheese in Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd hit the salad bar, you'd eat your bread with, your individually packaged butter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nothing was real
fold
fancy.
opens.
Nothing was fancy. Usually you could get ribeye for like $9.99. And
What?
Oh yeah.
This is a business opportunity on
I'm
the West
sold
Coast.
now.
Yeah. It was surf or turf.
And you could be a minor and go into the supper club.
Yeah, you could go there with your folks. Yeah, it was
What if
generally
you
not
were
frowned
by
upon.
yourself. Could you still go? I'm just thinking of the potential market.
Like the guy, like the 8th grader that looked like he was an adult.
Yeah.
He could probably get in.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Very good.
But
See an opportunity.
yeah,
But it's more centered around the social aspect as
big
opposed
time.
to the
Big time.
the the meal experience itself.
Well,
How many times, say like a month, would you attend said supper club rendezvous
It's a big deal.
rave?
It was a big deal to
Slash
go out
rip.
to that. So, like for us, we wouldn't have a lot growing up, but we'd go out, maybe once a month. We'd go once every 2 months. Big time in spring and early summer. Again, when people were eating fish fries, and a lot of it kind of coincided with, Catholicism. A lot of Catholics back there, so everybody ate fish on Friday. So you'd go to your local supper club or your bar, and eat fish, and that's what you did. Yeah. So a lot of it had to do with. It's kind of interesting how it all kind of coincided with, religion and the walleye run. But
Most important things in life.
yeah, they did walk hand in hand. Fisher of men. So
Yeah. See what you did there. Did they ever have a breakfast club?
not so much a breakfast club. No.
Okay.
Great movie.
I'm just
Mario.
asking.
Yeah. No, but it was interesting because you'd go to these things, you'd go to these social events, and you would find out. A lot of the talk was when you were sitting in the bar having your pre-drinks, or afterwards, you'd have a grasshopper or a every time.
I apologize. Proceed.
Dang it.
That was Nate's phone again.
Do we need to clap?
Your phone.
Do we need to clap and start over
No.
now?
I think, but your phone probably
Yes.
needs to be a credit at the end of the show. Nate Bailey, John.
Brought to you
Eastburn.
by Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, that's right. And Nate's phone. But no, you talk about not only social events, but you talk about fishing, and you talk about spring turkey hunting at these places. So it was kind of the Facebook Live before you had to get off.
We're talking like 30, 40 people.
In these places, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty big.
It was a good. It was
venue.
a place to be. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, a lot of these places
pretty
are
cool.
still going strong.
Yeah, that's,
I
mean.
They're owned. I mean, people don't have leases on these buildings.
Yeah.
They own them. They were passed down. And I've seen a resurgence, actually, if you go to some of the more metropolitan areas back in the Midwest. They're kind of building these places up where it's, the downside to a lot of these places where the food wasn't great. You'd eat. It was good food. It was filling, and it was usually something that curbed your appetite, but it wasn't something that was cuisine. So now you're seeing a lot of these places, kind of take that nostalgic feel and escalate it to a place where now you can go get a good steak, or you can get a few different things other than you can have the fish or the steak. So
Yeah.
serve for the turf. But
So the foodies of the world
yeah,
will partake as well.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But no, that was good. And you talk about fishing and get the fishing updates from everybody that was out on the water
that'd be
that
cool,
day.
man.
And you talk
That'd be very
about
cool.
turkey hunting if that was coming up, and what people were seeing, and
Yeah.
But
Huh.
speaking of turkey hunting, that was and is always a topic around this time of year. So now that I've elk hunted as much as I have and have turkey hunted more, I see the parallels, but people talk about that being kind of your East Coast elk hunting, or it's just like elk hunting. You do it in the springtime. You're calling back and forth.
Erroneous.
I can't say that
Erroneous.
I've quite drawn those parallels, but I can see it.
I mean, it's cool. It is cool.
I can see it.
I mean, I do enjoy it. I like it a lot. Turkey hunting's great. I mean, it is, especially when you're coming out of the winter.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Breaks
Something
up the
that
cabin
helps
fever.
you get you out of the funk.
Yes.
But man, it's nothing like a 800-pound animal in your face.
Yeah.
Pure volume. It's. I mean,
Yeah.
it's. I guess I might be a little biased now. There are some great turkey hunters out there that would rather turkey hunt than elk hunt.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're just bit by the turkey bug. But for where you go to elk hunt and scenery and just the and everything that goes with that is just special.
Now the precision it takes, we're all archery guys here. Not that we
Yep.
have any aversion to picking up a
Or
shotgun.
deadfalls. I've been into the deadfall game.
You've been looking for.
I've been digging deadfalls.
What's the little
dead man.
bungee sticks?
Yeah.
I like to
Yeah.
throw those out there.
You dig the pit,
Yeah.
stakes.
Yeah.
Punji sticks?
It's
Something
legal in Oregon for
something like
turkeys,
that, right?
not for elk yet, but I'm hopeful.
It'd have to be a pretty big hole.
Yeah.
Pretty big
Oh
stakes,
yeah,
too.
it's a commitment. You
Wasn't there a
dig
guy
some
that
big holes.
we talked to in our line of business that had done some? He had camoed up, got like ghillie suited up, got on the ground, and was like on ground level with some bears or hogs or something. Is that ringing a bell?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yes. Go on.
I don't know if he was actually trying to harvest these animals, kill these animals.
I don't know if he was just trying to get close or what.
Yeah, like he was
Yeah.
getting all gillied up and putting some bait out, and he was getting on the ground trying
Just
to
wanted
get
to touch him.
I think so. Just trying to get as close as he could to.
Yeah. I mean, it's doable. I
Yeah.
think.
See, now that's a parallel between elk hunting and turkey hunting that I do see is how close you get to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can get
Sure.
extremely. You see the videos of the guys that they're backed up against a tree, and they got a gobbler just going off like at the end of their barrel.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Certainly the parallels to hunting elk in the rut as far as setting up ambush points and
Yeah.
trying to call them in and participating in the vocal interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely see that.
Do you guys think it's harder to master elk calling or turkey calling?
I would say it depends what part of the
Oh,
country
come
you're in.
on.
I would
Answer the
say
question.
it depends what part of the country you're in, because those eastern birds are tough to harvest. I talked to a lot of experienced guys on that part of the the east side of the country, and some of those birds are pretty sketch,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
spooky.
I'd say the amount of different sounds you have to make to be successful at turkey hunting is probably a lot wider. There's a lot more sounds you have to be able to do and know when to do them, I think, when it comes to turkey.
I think in both turkey hunting and elk hunting, you have that guy that gets out of the truck every year, gets out of the truck, walks to the edge of the road, bugles or, yelps, locator calls.
Yeah.
Here's that bull, here's that tom. He's like, oh, they fire back at him. They grab their bow or shotgun or whatever. They walk 10 feet off the road and here they come. You know, that happens all the time. I'm sure. Never happened to me. I wish it would.
Yeah.
But I just haven't been that guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I think it just varies. I think just there's more and more hunters every year, so naturally the animals are getting more and more educated by people that make mistakes. I mean, we all make mistakes, but I mean, it's interesting though because you can literally slam. I mean, when things are right, you slam the door on a truck, and toms will answer you from the roost, or near the roost or whatever, and there's a bird, So I think locating birds might be easier. Finishing a bull or versus a educated tom, I don't know.
I'd say in both.
It's just tough to say. It's tough to say.
In both game, both turkey and elk. And I think the best callers are the ones that do it the least amount possible.
True.
I think a lot of
I would
us,
go with that.
and me included,
Can't
when
overcall.
it comes to turkey hunting, I've been
either elk hunting or
I feel like I probably overcall a little bit when it comes to turkey calling, mainly because I'm just not as comfortable with it as I am elk calling or elk hunting.
I've never seen a guy run 2 box calls
Well,
like you.
yes, sir.
I mean, it's impressive.
What I do is actually
One on
sew
each
them
hand.
to both legs.
They're on each hip.
I've always heard
amazing.
you're supposed to sound like
It's
multiple
amazing.
turkeys, so you know what?
Yep, 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 yep. It's amazing. You should do that sometime for us.
Okay,
I mean, we should bring that on the show.
maybe next time we'll do that.
We'll bring some judges too.
Yeah, that's
Ah.
that's great.
Competition out of
I
it.
got Parrish, Mr. Parrish, world champion turkey caller. Waldell's is on the back burner. Yeah, he'll be
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Local call maker.
They'll probably call in.
Jason Phelps. We'll probably get him in and we'll bring him in, see what he can see if he can judge us.
Yeah, there you go. Our friend Will.
I see.
Ask
Yeah,
you.
we'll ask you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's the thing: is I don't like to wear pants when I'm calling.
In the family.
Oh. Yes.
No, I'm sorry.
So as long as those guys are cool with me pantsless calling dual box calls.
Well, I think you got room for a friction call out there somewhere. You can put a slate out there in front of you. That's so bad.
Disgusting. You're turning off most
I
of the
know. I'm sorry. Don't judge us.
It's fun though. I mean, it's like you said. It's fun to do in the springtime when you're just itching to get outside.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I got a little bit of property, you guys, it should get easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the one thing with elk versus.
I'm never leaving. I'm going to sleep here on your couch forever.
We'd prefer it if you left, all of us.
I'm sorry.
So
It's not going to happen.
yeah.
It's in my contract.
Yeah.
I gotta sleep
But
in here.
spring's here. Spring is right around the corner, which, probably all looking in the mirror, thinking to ourselves, John's famous line from episode 1, God, I feel so fat.
I didn't know we were actually recording at that point.
You were just standing in the mirror looking at yourself.
I know. Well, I haven't seen funny mirrors in most households, but that one
Yeah.
was very, very pear-shaped.
So what do you guys do?
Time to get in shape.
I mean, other than probably the first of the year where everybody, swears off alcohol and sweets.
For about a week and a half.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then it comes like, well, it's getting nice outside. I should probably go take a walk. What do you guys like to do when the weather gets nicer and the days get longer to shed the flab? Nothing? Cool. Me either.
Well, I'm either on the water, working out the upper body, casting a rod as much as possible.
I was like, doggy paddle? What's up there? Go into more detail.
Stroke.
Yeah.
Stroke.
Sorry, Nick.
Yeah, I hit the trail. I don't necessarily put on a bunch of weight put a pack on with 60 pounds at that point. But, our climate's pretty mild here, so as long as you got good rain gear, you can get out pretty heavily starting late February, early March.
Yeah.
And I just pick trailheads and try to find something that's got cool scenery to take pictures of while I'm out too.
Take your mind off of the fact that you're exercising.
Mm-hmm. Yep, sure.
That's why I see you around campus.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Lots of incline.
Johnny,
There.
what about you?
Myself?
Yeah.
Well,
Other than switching to diet soda?
there's a few tactics I like to employ as an athlete, and as you can see, that's working great for me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But man, I'm guilty of just like a lot of people. I mean, I go for like a week hard, and then you fall off the wagon. So it's having somebody to keep you accountable is pretty good.
is.
But it like you said, it rains a ton up here, and so you just kind of got to power through it. But I would say, just it's hard to beat the real thing. Hiking with some weight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but there's a medical condition where your heartbeat, if it rises like 10 beats per minute above its normal resting heart rate, you start to get a rash. That's me. So I don't prefer to do anything like really strenuous. I try to keep it, really low impact. So, ex facto, I got to do a lot more to burn some calories, but I'm in it to win it. So I'm in it for the long haul. So my in shapeness, it's a slower curve, but I'll get there.
You do. You always get
September is right around the corner.
That's why you start in February, right?
That's right. Today,
Oh man.
I'm going to put on my shoes.
Yeah.
And that's enough.
Yeah.
Okay?
See, people ask me, how can you burn calories on that Segway? I said it's possible. It's possible. You just got to.
If you want it.
You got to try.
do it.
You got to try harder.
You just got to find bigger hills.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough.
It's there
not
for
easy,
you,
man. I
It's
tell you
there
what,
for you.
like you said, just the
It is.
getting and it doesn't matter if you're in the Northwest or the Midwest or the
Southwest.
Southeast or whatever,
Northeast, Mideast,
or Alaska,
West, east.
anywhere.
the western eastern states. No, I mean it's the winter months stink. I mean it's tough. It's motivate. And I guess I don't know. I don't think it's probably the weather as much as it's just the motivation.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah.
Having somebody there to push you to get out there and say, hey,
See, when we lived together, we ran all the time.
yeah, we did.
I don't know if
We
you
sure-
remember that. I mean, you're like, come on, Eastburn, let's down to the got a
beer
5K
store.
today.
We ran to 7-Eleven.
I'd be
a
like,
lot.
yeah, let's go, Jake Siegel.
It got to the point where you wouldn't even go out for beer. You just go and just pick some up on your way home there, man.
Yeah,
I'm pretty comfortable.
yeah.
As is, right here.
It was like Ebony and Ivory in the sense that if Jake was Ebony cardio, I was the Ivory, just anything, not workout related.
It was as if you were.
We were great for each other.
We were.
We should actually, that.
But if you were
we should move
if
back
you
in.
were allergic to
It'd be
gluten,
great.
it was like that. Like you were allergic.
Yeah.
Like I can't. I'm sorry, I can't have any cardio.
I'm allergic to
No thanks. I'll pass. Yeah.
One thing that makes it nice nowadays, even if you don't have a workout partner, social media can be a pretty big motivator.
Yeah.
I mean, I've followed quite a few people that just about on the daily they're posting something about working out, and some people find that obnoxious, but to me, as long as it's front and center, it kind of keeps me on the wagon.
Yeah.
There's some good people in the outdoor industry as well that like your Cameron Haynes or Christy Titus or even Brian Call from the Gritty Bowman podcast that are big into fitness and do a really good job of getting motivation out there for people. And so and that's just to name a few, but as many people like that as you can if you're into social media. So John's eyes are glazing over across the table there. But if you're if you take advantage of that, in our modern day and age,
he's the Bill
guys.
Belichick of this group.
Guys.
Well, I'm not really into that face Snapchat stuff. So. But no, that's really true. And as much, and I think that's as much as kind of fun as we poke of working out and being in shape. The bottom line is, we probably all are a little envious of those folks that are dedicated enough to get out there and do it as much as they do and stick with it, because I mean, once you get to the fall and you're hiking up mountains or going on a trip or whatever, it doesn't even have to be a hunting trip. Just any type of activity. It's easy to sit back and join the many people that say whatever, it's not for me.
Sure,
you can have that. I'll be just fine. But
I'll start getting in shape in July and I'll be fine.
Exactly. So.
Or I kill everything 10 feet from the truck.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. That might not be the
That's
right.
what I got kids for, right? But there's a lot of things to do. I mean, as the weather gets nicer, Nate, John, you guys talk about going for hikes and going for walks, riding bikes. I mean, even shed hunting, and we talked about going shed hunting in other episodes, but just whatever motivates you. And a lot of times it's finding something that keeps your mind off the fact that you are working out. So if it's shed hunting, if it's going to pull down your stands from the previous year and getting out there and scouting some new area, getting out and hiking some creeks and rivers for fishing, whatever it is. I mean, just get out and get your blood pumping. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah. All right, so where we at? Tech tip?
Yeah, hit us.
We talked about turkey hunting a little bit this year, or this episode, and so a couple years ago, my wife loves to go to garage sales, and a couple years ago, she brought home some really big, tall, old truck mirrors, like from a 79 Ford, just the tall ones, or 72 Chevy, right?
Yeah, with the brackets that are 3 feet long.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she decorated them and
put them camper special
put them up in the
mirrors.
house. And I was looking at those, and I was like, you know what? First of all, I do not like to sit in it. I don't like blinds. Period. I don't care if I'm deer hunting or turkey hunting. I do not like blinds. I hate not being able to see behind me.
You are blind in a blind.
Yeah, exactly. It's aptly named.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at those truck mirrors, and I said, you know what? I got a spot for them.
Got a use for them.
So I commandeered them during a deer season a couple years ago. And what I did is I took a couple T-posts and I hauled them out. Granted, my stand wasn't that far from my truck at this point, at this particular location, but I brought a couple T-posts and a couple zip ties, and I drove those suckers down on each side of my blind, and I put up a big truck mirror on each side of my blind. Mm-hmm. And then I camouflaged it up a little bit so it wasn't so shiny. But it was amazing how much more confident I felt about sitting in that blind because I could see everything coming from behind me. And I had a good field of view because they were big, you know. I mean, it wasn't just a little car mirror.
Yep. It's a good idea.
I had deer come in, never got spooked. I think if anything, if you leave something up long enough, they'll get used to it. And I had it up early enough that the deer didn't seem to bother them. And I caught deer coming from behind me that, as much as I love to play Tetris in the blind, that I probably
Did you? Really, I mean, that's. I mean, it's pretty ingenious. I mean, that's
those same truck mirrors.
I would not have. Where are those mirrors at?
They're downstairs right now.
Really?
I had to bring them back. Yeah.
Now
she was.
You could not. Now you cannot hunt that blind between 12:15 and 12:20 for 5 minutes because you're blinded probably.
I would have
with the sun.
Yeah.
But That's hardcore right there.
Did you hook them up to the
That's
remote so you could
hardcore.
adjust the tilt from within the blind?
I kept looking for that little tab.
You can check your right side and check your left side.
Yeah, little pan tilt.
I'd say if
action.
you do
That's a
that,
hell of a tech tip.
take the time to build a hood for it though. In John's, to your point,
To keep the sun glare
yeah, you want to
down.
keep the sun glare off.
Yeah.
But it was awesome, man. That was one thing
Yeah,
it's
you
a
never
good
have to
idea.
open up the back of your blind. I mean, peek out the back.
Because how many times have you heard something and the
Check your blind spot.
it got the best of you and you cracked a window and there was a deer or turkey 10 feet from the blind and they're looking right at you because they heard you or saw you open that up. So so try it out, yeah. Because I know everybody listening here is probably going to be at some point this summer, spring and summer, going down a old country road, and you're going to see that estate sale sign, and you're going to do your best to deflect the fact that she probably saw the sign.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to bring up something else. You're going to try to divert the conversation.
Squirrel.
She's going to say, "Hey,
We should stop.
we should stop at that estate sale."
Oh
So
God.
get your butt in there, find some old truck mirrors, and
Or an old Fenwick fiberglass fishing rod.
right. Yeah,
You
hell yeah.
yeah.
Yard sales and estate sales, man, that's
Yep. I like fishing the old vintage gear.
yep.
I find those a lot.
All right, what we learn, Nader?
I learned John is way more interested in big guys than he is in video
Okay.
games on his cell phone.
Johnny?
Or
What'd you learn?
big eyes, I'm sorry. Big eyes. Walleye.
Right. I can't read this. What do you got written down there?
I don't know. This is a different language here. I learned that Nate collects a royalty. I learned that Nate collects a royalty on hoverboards. And in fear,
You can't read it, can you?
I can't read this. I can't read this note I wrote earlier.
Having
And in
problems.
I got it. It's coming to me. Got it. Go ahead, Jake.
Well, yeah, I'm sure all of our listeners are waiting on bated breath. But I learned that John draws a strong parallel between high schoolers and walleyes,
Perfect.
particularly high school boys.
Okay. All right, I got it. And in fear of
Acne.
paying a royalty, Jake wears a hat
Because of my male pattern.
because of your mare baldness. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get it. You're bald.
You should work on your what you learned.
I know.
That's
I'm so
also what
sorry.
I learned.
All right. My ink is ran. My paper was wet. I apologize. I'll do better next time. I'm sorry.
But thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the Crave. Subscribe. Leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. You can get to us at the Crave with a K, thecrave.net. Also our social platforms. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I don't know. There's got to be more, right?
Yep. Find it all at our website. We've got all the
Yes.
links up
Go
there.
to the website, thecrave.net, and find our social pages from there.
Drop in comments on the podcast page for whatever episode. Weigh in
Yeah.
on the would you rathers or whatever else that feel like
give us a
commenting
would you
about.
rather. Give us a would you rather.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Also, let us know what you think about John's conversation about his high school struggles, his success stories.
Yeah.
It was a trying time.
It was so confused. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Peace out.